Greg? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, Tuesday, June 11th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for our invocation afterwards. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Oh God, our Father, we gather together. Every meeting is important, Lord. We come seeking wisdom, knowledge for the hearts of the people who are here to be united as we seek that which is the best for this community, for families to grow, kids to thrive. Father, for all of us to be strengthened as we live in this community. We thank you for the protection you provide for those who have that basic responsibility. And Father, we thank you for those who lead tonight. Your blessings upon them, and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, Mr. January.
Good, yourself?
Would you please call the roll of the council?
Yes, President. Vice President Neal.
Here.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Present.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Present.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Here,
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Present.
President Bella.
Here.
7 present.
Present, thank you, sir. Moving on to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. I did get a request from Mr. Svetnov to say a few comments this evening. Mr. Svetnov.
Thank you, Mr. President. This statement serves as a follow-up to the events that have unfolded since the last town council meeting conducted on May 28, 2024, regarding the topic of how an abstention should be treated concerning a town council vote. On May 29, 2024, the clerk treasurer contacted and requested a legal opinion from staff counsel for the State Board of Accounts. Staff counsel was presented a factual scenario whereby there was a deadlock tie on the town council, 3 votes yes, 3 votes no, which differed from our actual factual scenario with 3 votes yes, 3 votes no, and 1 abstention. Counsel for State Board issued his incorrect technical advice, not a legal opinion, to the clerk treasurer based on the inaccurate factual scenario stated above and an inaccurate interpretation of Indiana code. In the technical advice email, it stated that the clerk treasurer was under a duty to break a tie in voting. This is not true. A clerk treasurer has a choice to break a tie in voting either yes, no, abstaining, or refusing to vote. Then on May 30th, 2024, legal counsel for AIM issued a technical advice, not a legal opinion again, to the clerk treasurer concerning the same issue. In this technical advice email, it relied on the same incorrect factual scenario as noted above in an Indiana Supreme Court case from 1879 discussing the issue of a tie-breaking vote. It should be noted that there have been significant changes under Indiana code, case law, and Robert's Rules of Order since 1879. Next, on May 31st, 2024, Kendra Leatherman, General Counsel for the State Board of Accounts, issued a clarification email stating that the technical advice presented was based only on the factual scenario presented by the clerk treasurer, and a statement that follows, quote, as you and Mr. Walker discussed on the phone, you are the legal counsel and are in the best position to give legal advice to the elected officials of your unit. This is not in dispute, and our correspondence should not be used as questioning that fact. Furthermore, on June 4, 2024, both the town manager and myself conducted a teleconference with Becca McQuaig, legal counsel for AIM. In this teleconference, she stated, 1, that she was first presented by the clerk treasurer an incorrect statement of facts concerning the town council vote. 2, that after reviewing my legal opinion, she was compelled by my arguments and my legal sources. 3, that you as the town attorney are in the best position to give legal advice to the municipal unit. And 4, she made it very clear to the clerk treasurer that my email was technical advice and not a legal opinion. Moreover, on June 5th, the town manager sent the clerk treasurer an email requesting that we have the Indiana Attorney General render an independent legal opinion concerning the matter of abstention. The clerk treasurer has outright declined the offer and again threatened litigation. In conclusion, as it has been acknowledged by the State Board of Accounts and AIM, that the final legal determination rests with me, the town attorney. I stand by my legal opinion as accurately describing facts and analyzing the most current statutes, case law, and secondary authority. It appears that we are destined to litigate this matter. Let me make this clear. This is not an attempt to strip the power of the clerk treasurer, but simply we have a difference of legal interpretation. Thank you, Mr. President.
And I would like to rebut, Mr. President, because although I understand that you may have gotten some opinions from these people, I stated the facts, and I shared the exact facts with them. They shared their opinion along with other attorneys. As the clerk treasurer, it clearly says in Indiana law and in our ordinances that I am the tie-breaking vote. And when you all interrupted me during the vote for that thing, you even broke what you call Robert's Rules of Order while I had the floor by not allowing me to cast that vote. So all sorts of precedents have been broken. There have been other clerk treasurers that have cast tie-breaking votes in this town since 1972. And there is no way that Robert's Rules of Order is basically going to subjugate the right for the clerk treasurer to be the tie-breaking vote when somebody abstains. Because the way you read the law, I'm not an attorney, but it clearly says, and I don't have that paperwork in front of me, but you probably know it, where it talked about all of the elected and members of the council casting a majority of the vote. In this case, I am one of the elected members. I was entitled to vote as an elected member of this body, and you denied me that right. So on that basis, unless we vote on this measure today, we will be going to court to settle it, and we're going to set a precedent for the rest of the state of Indiana because there's no way I'm going to allow that to stand.
Great, and we agree to disagree. Thank you.
Okay, moving on tonight to public hearings. Mr. Svetnov. Add proof of publications for ordinance 24-19.
2419, the proof of publication has been reviewed. It's all in order. The meeting and hearing may proceed.
Thank you. This is ordinance of the town of Merrillville authorizing additional appropriations within the 2024 cumulative fire equipment fund. The amount is for $500,000. Is there any public comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, any comment from the council? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Mrs. Haynes Edwards. For approval. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Aye.
President Bella,
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Svetnov, do you have add proof comments for ordinance 24-20?
The proofs of publication are in order. We are set to proceed on this ordinance and hearing, Mr. President.
Thank you. This is a ordinance enactment appropriating additional money in excess of the annual budget for the town donation fund, all pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-18 and Indiana Code 36-5-3-5. We've created line items for the job fair, the 4th of July parade, the Black History Celebration dinner, and Juneteenth. The total amount is $58,000 even. Is there any public comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second. Third.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak. Chair will recognize Mr. Pettit for the second. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to the ad proof discussion regarding ordinance 24-21. Mr. Svetnov.
Mr. President, the proofs of publication have been reviewed. They are all in order. We're ready to proceed with the ordinance in the hearing.
Thank you. This is ordinance 24-21. It is creating a fire equipment cell tower fund, discretionary. The amount's $20,000. I believe this is for repairs needed for the tower. Is there any public comment on this appropriation ordinance? Seeing none. Council members, discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of ordinance on second reading 24-21. Questions from the council? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher for approval for June 11th, the AP register summary for ARP purchases for June 11th, and the approval of the town council meeting minutes of May 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Mrs. Neal,
Yes.
for approval of the consent agenda as submitted. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on tonight to standing committees, budget and finance, Mrs. Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We are in budget season, so we have lots of meetings coming up for the month of July, August, September. So more to come on that, and that's all, President Bella.
Thank you. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Street Department, Mrs. Uzelak.
Yes, I'm waiting to hear from Steve King on the speed bumps. And then we will get going in Merrillville and different areas to put in the speed bumps.
Are they being installed now, Mrs. Uzelak? I think they are. right?
No, I haven't had any in my area, and I tried to call Steve, and I think he's on vacation.
He is right now.
So I haven't heard any more. But as soon as I do, I will let my residents know. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Uzelak. Moving on to elections, public relations, and town beautification, Vice President Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We are meeting every 2 weeks to work on our gateway signs. We have a couple of preliminary drawings already to go. We'll be meeting Monday to try to finalize those and put them together just a little bit more. And then also, Steve King and his crew are diligently working on all of our flower planting that they did throughout the entire town. And I did notice on some of our old gateway signs, they have actually cleaned them up a little bit, so they're doing a really good job with those. And that's all.
Thank you. Environmental Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
I have no report. I'll wait for Matt and Rhonda later.
Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Ms. Hardaway.
We have several positions open with the Parks Department, event site coordinator, and I believe some front desk or site supervisor positions are available. We still have our interim assistant parks director in place, Lisa Roberts. So we are looking good as far as building is concerned. There is street department openings as well, and I believe that concludes my report for now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Public Safety, Ms. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we had a special redevelopment commission meeting. We have 2 ordinances and 2 resolutions later on the agenda. One's related to the Boys and Girls Club. The other one is related to Andrean High School, and we'll go through those actions on first reading and the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit. Ms. Hardaway, Public Safety, please.
we already covered that.
Yeah, we did.
There's two duplicates, Mr. President. I
Oh.
beg the council's pardon.
Excuse me. So you have nothing to add? Economic Development, Mr. Pettit. That's another
That's
duplicate.
another.
Yes, it is.
Parks, Recreation, and Community Center Committee, Mr. Pettit.
I will defer when Lisa gives the department report. No report right now.
Utility Liaison, Ms. Chandler Felton.
President Bella, I would like to pass that over to our town manager,
Mr. Griffin.
Ms. Smith.
I thank the councilwoman as chair, and I thank the council. Mr. President, on behalf of the councilwoman, the Utility Committee did have its first meeting, as you know, with Indiana American. It is kind of repurposed this year to be a liaison committee, to kind of establish entente with the utilities that serve our citizens, that we serve as well. Tomorrow I was invited to attend a lunch with the new president of NIPSCO. I'm going to ask, I believe, Ms. Chandler Felton, Councilor Chandler Felton, to join me at that. And we are going to try to set up a meeting with the committee to later on conduct that liaison meeting, just so that we can get contact information about who to call in the event of an issue, and just so that they can get to know some of the people with our community, and we can get to know some of the people with their staff, just so that we can have resources available for our residents. I believe that that's the extent of the report for tonight.
Thank you.
Moving on to Special Committees, Abandoned and Blighted Properties, Ms. Haynes Edwards.
Mr. President, I'd like for our town manager, Michael Griffin, to take the mic for that as well, please.
Mr. Griffin.
Councilwoman, thank you. As chair of the committee and Mr. President, members of the council, on her behalf, she has actually tasked me with, and I had shared with you that I was going to be doing this. You recently conducted some comprehensive amendments of both our nuisance rules on law, ordinance, and also it implicates the unsafe building law, all of which have an impact on the committee that she chairs. So I've been tasked with trying to get that into one written document so that we can look at it. And then I'm going to invite the associate attorney with the firm that our town attorney is with. And we're going to have a meeting where we're going to have all of the principals, the players that are implicated in this. We're going to review what the new rules are. They're not that different from the old, but we're going to review them again to refresh everybody's recollection. And we also will talk about what role each department head or principal will be playing in the new scheme of things. There will be some training because our veteran code enforcement officer is retiring, I believe. And because of that, we do need to train some of the code enforcement staff on the process of imposing a lien as part of the enforcement under the nuisance rules, but also how we lift that lien later on when to enforce its collection under the new rules because of the law that we've embraced and adopted by your action at the last few meetings. I believe that was the extent of the report that the councilwoman had asked me to present to you, and unless there's a question, I'll be seated.
Anything else, Ms. Haynes Edwards?
No, thank you, Mr. Griffin and President Bella.
Semi-Quincentennial Committee, Shawna.
Nothing to report?
Special Town Projects, Vice President Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We have our Juneteenth family movie night on June 18th at the Barbara and Dean, the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. And on July 3rd, we have our fireworks at, it's going to start at Merrillville High School parking lot at sundown, followed by July 4th. We'll have our parade starting at 11 o'clock, and that'll start also at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center going south on Broadway. And that's going to conclude everything that we're doing thus far.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to Department and Commission reports, Lake County Solid Waste Management District, Mrs. Neal.
Yes, thank you, President Bella. We did have a meeting last week. It was a little off-scheduled, so they do have a few different things going on to try to get us back on task. If anybody's interested in it, they have so many updates with the Lake County Solid Waste. You can check their websites. They still have the compost that's available for pickup out in Gary, along with a lot of other activities for youth for the summertime.
Great.
That's all. Thank you.
Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, Ms. Hardaway.
Next meeting will be September 19th.
Stormwater Management Resources, Mr. Lake.
Yeah, real quick. we're continuing with engineering on Independence Hill, third edition. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse today. Also, 97th Grand, I sent a letter to Mr. Hearing and Mr. Nelson with regards to land acquisition. We do have some appraisals. We did send some offers to purchase, so I'm waiting to hear back from them, hopefully in the next week or so. We're continuing engineering on a project at Hendrick Street, just north of 73rd. It's about 60% complete. We're working with VS Engineering on that. We got a progress meeting this week. The town orchards, Rosenbaum is almost completed. We got about 20 more trees to plant there. And then we're moving on to Rosenbaum on Thursday. We're gonna have a mass planting day where we're gonna plant about 160 trees this Thursday. So if anybody wants to help, grab a shovel. Ball Diamond Park, you had mentioned that, Councilwoman Uzelak, with regards to the developer having debris out there, structures. He did reply back to myself and to Ms. Shine with regards to his efforts that he is going to remove all of those materials until he is actually ready to initiate the project. So I don't know, did he give a date on that, Sheila?
He was supposed to be by yesterday, so I could tell Mrs.
Yeah,
Uzelak
go out
that
there
it was
tomorrow.
gone, but I didn't go and look.
Okay, we'll go out there tomorrow and make
Yeah.
sure. Okay. And I'm meeting with Carl Sender tomorrow. We're going over the fee study for the detention ponds and the maintenance, as well as Robinson Engineering. We should have a report soon on that to present to the council. And that's all I have at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Fire Territory Board, Mrs. Neal and Ms. Hardaway.
I don't have anything if you don't, Counselor Hardaway.
I do not have anything to report.
Thank you. Moving on. Parks Department, Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just some things going on throughout the month. We have the Chicago Skies Dana Evans Camp on Tuesday, June 25th from 4 to 7 p.m. We also have a American Red Cross Blood Drive on Thursday, June 27th from 10:30 to 6:30 p.m. And we are doing a farmer's market on Saturday, June 29th from 10 to 2 in the parking lot. And we are still working on getting quotes for the windows. I know we've got several quotes in. I'm just waiting to get all the quotes in so that we can make a decision. Also with the gym floors, I've got a couple more companies coming in this next week to give me some more quotes. And the parking lot the same way. We've gotten a couple of quotes, and I'm stuck on getting a third one. I talk to, they don't do our area. So I'm reaching out to some more companies. So any help you can give me would be great. So, and that's all I have right now.
Mr. President, to Lisa and Michael, remember the fourth Thursday at, I believe we said 5 o'clock is the standing meeting?
That's correct.
Fourth Thursday at 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
so hopefully we can tackle some of those issues.
Yes.
I did notice the email, Michael, come through for you and Lisa, the floor coverings. We've paid for have we received all those items that we approved as a committee?
For the
And the
most
vacuum
part,
cleaners and the floor
vacuum
coverings
cleaners,
and-
The floor coverings, we have taken care of most everything. The only thing I had an issue on was the, making sure that the different companies got paid for like the drywall area. I haven't seen anything to say that they've
From
gotten
Core?
paid. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the bills,
Okay.
so.
I would like to add, just in terms of the parking lot, have you contacted Day Construction? Day Construction,
Okay, I'll definitely check into that. Thank you so much.
okay.
Police Department, Assistant Chief Gonzalez. Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not much to report other than calls are steadily increasing as the summer months are here. Officers are out there working hard to keep the public safe. And I just wanted to remind everyone that most of our administrative, civilian, and detective staff are currently displaced due to some light renovation going on in our offices with the flooring. So I appreciate everyone's patience with that. We're hoping to have that wrapped up by June 21st and be back to our normal operating procedures.
Great, thank you. Planning and Building, Ms. Shine.
Not at this time, no, at this time, Mr. President.
Mr. Griffin, Town Manager.
Mr. President, I did prepare the monthly report for you. I hope it speaks for itself. I don't know what to highlight among them, so among the things that I did report to you, absent a question from the council, I'll be pleased to be seated.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. January.
Sure. Mr. President, just in terms of the food and beverage tax, we did collect $57,382.46. That's a $12,000 decrease from the previous month, so we're actually going in the wrong direction. In terms of the food and beverage tax, we have to get the word out. I had a client just today that called me and said, hey, Eric, he had a famous politician came to his office or his restaurant and patronized him and said, hey, why are you charging me 8%? And he said, that's how much the tax is in Indiana. He just insisted, man, you are cheating me, that the tax is 7%. And so, to make a long story short, we have to educate the public more about the food and beverage tax because the revenues are going in the wrong direction. We still collected something, but we definitely have to get the word out better. And then also, just in terms of fiscal responsibility, one of the things as the treasurer is supposed to safeguard the assets. We had another instance where somebody was trying to steal some money from the town. We caught it because we have positive pay. And we're going to implement a policy where basically everything has got to be ACH or automatic deposit. No more, if you see a check with my signature on it, it's probably just going to be a fraud because we want to get rid of that just because of all of the fraud that's going on. In terms of the town's finances, the town itself had about $12 million, and I have an exact report. Collectively, we had $27 million, but the town funds of that was $12,349,401.95. Stormwater, Matt Lake is doing an excellent job. $5,973.58. Town court had $40,366.49, and redevelopment had $9,849,598.87. This is as of May the 31st, 2024. So that's my report for today.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to general orders, we have first reading ordinances. Ordinance 24-22 is an ordinance of the Town of Merrillville providing that the zoning ordinance, Town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, be amended by changing the established C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District classification to a planned unit development zoning district classification. Ms. Shine?
Yes, Mr. President, this is a zone change from, the address is 1549 East 63rd Avenue. The general location, the property is Mississippi Street, north of Menards. The current zoning was C3 Highway Commercial, and this ordinance right now will for a planned unit development. The property went through planned unit development for a storage facility. Mr. Anderson, Attorney Anderson is in the office, in the audience, who is representing WTS Incorporated, and they will be building a storage facility there. The lot size is 4.2 acres. They went through the Plan Commission, conceptual, preliminary, final, and they also went through for engineering. So tonight, this is the zone change, first reading for a planned unit development.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
You have a motion by Mr. Pettit for ordinance 24-22 for approval on first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Haynes Edwards. Open for discussion. Do you want to approach Mr. Anderson? Yes.
Anderson, 9211 Broadway, Merrillville, Indiana. Representatives of the petitioner are in the back of the room tonight. Arnie Macy and Andrew Macy are here for the project. Basically, this is at 1599 East 63rd Avenue. It's a parcel which is just to the north of Menards. And so it's basically tucked in there. The entrance to it will be off of 63rd Avenue, so it will not come out on either Marcella Boulevard or on Mississippi Street, which is a good use for the property. It's upscale in that there's facade along the Mississippi corridor. There is, basically, it's a lot of climate-controlled storage, so it's different than what you've been approving. It's more than 50% climate-controlled. They'll have spots for cars where you can actually take and park your classic car in there for the winter or the summer or whatever. But basically, that's the project, and I can answer any questions that you have.
Mr. President, this is in my newer portion, I guess my redistricted portion of Ward 6. Margie and Leona and I saw this at the Plan Commission 3 times with Richard and the petitioner. I think we've taken care of, Bob and Steve are satisfied, Sheila, I believe, with everything that the petitioner presented, so.
Yes, and the fire department did change the address, so they have a new address now.
Yes, we do.
And also, may I add that there will be no outside storage?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Anderson, explain to me the market study done to prove that this is needed in our town.
Yes, there was a market study done that showed that there still was a need for storage of this type. In other words, within a rate, what they do is they take a radius of 5 miles of the project, and basically the number of residents was over 100,000 in that area, and that there was still a lack of storage with regard to the same. So they have done a market study. And this, like I say, is very upscale as far as how it's being done. So I think it's for people who want to really protect their belongings, because when you have heated and air-conditioned storage.
Yeah, what's the project cost, Richard?
I think it was 7 million, if I'm not mistaken. 8.5.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
I just wanted to comment.
Mr. January.
Yes, sir. Well, we've got a ton of storage facilities in here. I believe in the free market process. It's just, I really think that hopefully you've done your homework, because we got a ton of storage facilities here, and I don't know how that's really adding real value to the town. We can actually be recognized as the storage capital of the world. Maybe that could draw some people, and we can do some foreclosures and be on storage wars. I don't know.
Well, again, because this is climate controlled, this is a different product.
No, we've got climate control. Old
do,
Strack
but-
Ventil
Right.
is a climate controlled thing. Used to be a grocery store, and it's a climate controlled storage facility now.
Right, but this is a bigger one where you can store bigger things than you can in the grocery store on 73rd.
Thank you.
President Bell, is there a count of how many storage facilities we have in Merrillville?
Yes.
Ms. Shine might know that.
Well, we have quite a few. If you want me to get an accurate count, I can.
Thank you.
I can.
Thank you.
It'll take a while.
Yeah, I can. No, I'll get you an accurate count. I wouldn't want to say,
Thank you. No.
We need to cap that.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Anything from the Plan Commission members who are council members?
President Bell.
President Bell.
I discussed this matter with Joe, and way back in the day, as the old gray-haired guy on the council, no offense, Rick, we had the same discussion about duplexes for a long time, folks. We were inundated with duplexes in the town of Merrillville, and we put a moratorium on duplexes. And I asked Joe, can we put a moratorium on the self-storage? Sheila's got to accept the petition. We've got to let the chips fall where they may, unfortunately. Eric brought up the one at the old Strack and Van Til. Ironically, we turned down a gentleman for a self-storage, and we approved that one when Jeff Minchuk was on. We got sued, didn't we, Joe?
We did.
Because we turned down a self-storage facility on West 73rd Avenue.
And we won.
And we won. So I don't know where to, there's two sides of this for economic development. Right now, that property is being assessed at probably hardly anything, right, Richard? Even though it's
Correct.
zoned commercial.
I think it's.
There's no building on it.
No.
It's the same thing with any vacant land in the town of Merrillville.
And basically, this has been vacant since everything was developed over there, probably in the 70s or
So
maybe
you
the
put
80s,
$7 million
correct?
out there, and Angie Guernsey's going to go out there and reassess it, and our tax base you will get more taxes. Because right now, vacant land, you're not receiving that much in vacant.
Agricultural.
Yeah, so that's the double-edged sword we run is, how do we handle this thing with vacant versus another land use that Yeah, it's not the greatest. Richard and I have talked about this. Mark and I have talked about this. We have another BZA case in my ward right back here at South Lake Nautilus later on in the agenda. Same type of situation. But unfortunately, people have a lot of stuff, right, Mark and Richard? Isn't that how you guys phrased it at the meetings?
Yes.
People have a lot of stuff and they have no place to put it, so they're putting it in these storage facilities. So, I don't know.
Any other discussion from the council? Hearing none. Mr. January, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
No.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
No.
President Bella.
No.
So we have 3 in favor and 3 against.
All seven of us voted, Mr. January.
Oh, no, I'm saying 3, all 7 voted, and we had 3 against, and so 4 in favor.
Thank you. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Moving on tonight to ordinance 24-23 on first reading. The ordinance to amend the existing wage and salary ordinance to modify pay rates for the police chief and the assistant chief to be aligned more equitably with the base pay for the fire chief and deputy fire chief. The change in salary is funded by actions taken by the town council at its prior meeting. It's within the adopted budget for 2024 and is sustainable. Chair will entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Hardaway with a second by Mr. Pettit for approval of ordinance 24-23, increase in salary for the police chief and assistant chief. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Before I vote, I want to make a comment, though, for Josh. This is our first step in adjusting salaries. This is what we can do right now. But Mr. Griffin's underway with a salary study, and we're going to be reviewing everyone's salaries before the next budget cycle. So I vote aye.
7 in favor.
7-0, motion carries. Moving on to ordinance 24-24, it's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville authorizing issuance of Town of Merrillville, Indiana Economic Development Revenue Bonds, including bond anticipation notes, and approving the authorization, other actions in respect thereto, Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Northwest Indiana. Mr. Pettit, do you have comments on this ordinance?
Yes, Mr. President. Bob Swentz from London Witty, the Redevelopment Commission financial advisor, is here in the audience.
Please approve.
This action was approved at the RDC earlier. It was a resolution 24-07 by a vote of 3-0. At that time, we only had 3 members at the meeting. Again, this is the first step taken in a decision that was made a couple years ago, I guess it's been now. With the Dean and Barbara White Community Center, there's a vacant 3 acres that the town sold, the Redevelopment Commission sold to the Boys and Girls Club of Northwest Indiana. They want to build a club there that will have classrooms, offices, and 1 basketball court. Joe handled the transaction on the land, so they own the 3 acres out there in back of the community center. This is a commitment of over 10 years, $200,000 a year for 10 years is $2 million. This comes off the top draw of the TIF, all the allocation areas. As Mr. January pointed out, our allocation areas right now that's a key point, right now are generating 9.1 million. When those large buildings out at Ameriplex and silos at Sanders Farm start coming on, and even when they're paying their tax abatement portion, that amount is going to go up. Bob, I don't know if we've got a number on that or not. We probably don't until Angie gets out there and assesses it. So this is a commitment, I've made personally, politically. I think this is the right thing to do. They're currently housed in the community center, as Lisa can attest to. They take up 4 of the community rooms, which would free that space up for residents, for programming, in the McDonald's room, and the Commercial Insights room, and the AFL-CIO room. I think this is a win-win for everyone. And for clarification, this is the same thing we handled for Merrillville School Corporation. We did a 5-year deal with them for $400,000 a year. They're also getting $2 million off the top draw of the TIF allocation areas. Bob, I don't know if you want to go into a little bit more detail on how we handle the draws.
Sure. And I'm Bob Swins with the London Witty Group, and working with the town administration and Tom Pittman from Barnes and Thornburg have put together the documents that you'll be reviewing tonight. As Mr. Pettit suggested, for the Boys and Girls Club, it's a $2 million commitment payable at $200,000 over 10 years. There's really no interest rate. And as he also stated, this is just part of the process. The Economic Development Commission will meet later this month, hold a public hearing, and make a final recommendation to the town council for approval of the bond issue, which will come back to you, I believe, at your next meeting or the first meeting in July. This is a little different than what we do for the Merrillville School Corporation. Merrillville School Corporation, there's specific statutory language that allows you to take TIF and just make a payment to them. We don't have the same type of statutory language for other private entities or 501c3s, so we have to go through this bond issue process in order to achieve the same results as we did with the Merrillville School Corporation.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve 2424.
Comments?
Motion by Mr. Pettit. We need a second first, Mr. January. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hayes Edwards. Open for discussion.
I'd like to start off, I was a part of the Boys and Girls Club when I was a kid. I got kicked out of it. And one of the reasons, the Boys and Girls Club is a very noteworthy organization, but the town, we have a limited amount of funds. And I want to say that 55% of all jobs, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, are created by small businesses. This is a not-for-profit organization that is not going to generate many jobs within the town of Merrillville, and we will have to repay this debt because they are, as a not-for-profit, whatever value they bring, if they spend $10 million, $5 million, or whatever on this particular property, that's not going to increase our assessed valuation. So ultimately, other taxpayers are going to end up paying for this bond issue. And I think that's transferring the buck. So we're borrowing money to give to a non-for-profit organization, and that's the major thing that I object to.
So the borrowing is just a mechanism we have to use. I'll let Bob explain that. We don't pay it back.
Who's paying it back?
Well,
Bob, could you explain how that
yeah,
works?
so as I was talking about, for the Merrillville schools, we can just send them the money. They make a presentation, the redevelopment commission can write a check for whatever that commitment is. Because this is a 501c3, there's no statutory language that allows us to just have a presentation and write a check. So we create this bond issue in order to make those payments. The payments are actually coming from tax increment revenues that are generated in allocation areas and not from the general property taxes of the town.
Oh, I understand exactly what you're saying. So it's coming from the tax increment financing. That's what's paying for it, and tax increment financing is capturing the increase in the assessed valuation in the area. So ultimately, taxpayers are paying for it. It's just not coming from the general fund, it's coming from the TIF.
Yeah, in
So
the
that
same way
allocation
that
area.
we've used tax increment to pay for the community center now. We use those excess TIF dollars to make those payments. It's the same way we use TIF dollars to make those payments to Merrillville School Corporation. It's just an incentive to enhance their operations.
Sure, and my point is that if we're going to use these TIF dollars, if we want to bring some value to this town, we need to be creating some jobs on the north side of the town. And we need to be creating something in AI, something in artificial intelligence. We need to be doing something other than a not-for-profit. Poor communities have a ton of not-for-profits and churches. Affluent communities have businesses that are providing jobs for the people in the community. So we can't just get on a bandwagon of having a not-for-profit mindset when this is a for-profit economy. We got to make some money.
We're not in the business of making money, Eric, I'm sorry to say.
I totally understand.
And I
But we-
really,
you have-
this is something that you guys know I'm passionate about, so I'm gonna get on my 6'5" soapbox. Quite honestly, if you were a member of Boys and Girls Club, you should know what this organization does for the
That's right.
youth of our community. This should be an absolute no-brainer vote.
No, it's not a no-brainer.
Yes, it is.
We're talking about
There's a
taxpayer.
funding source to help this club out. It solves a problem for Lisa at the community center. And quite honestly, if you need to know it, ask Joe. The Dean and White Family Foundation gave us that $10 million because they want a campus developed there. Yeah, so what are we supposed to say? Thanks for your $10 million, but we're going to let that 3 acres sit there and kick the Boys and Girls Club out of town?
No.
I'm not casting that vote, Mr. January.
Valparaiso has Boys and Girls Clubs in just about every elementary school throughout the area. Why can't we continue to duplicate a model like that? My daughter was in the Boys and Girls
They
Club.
just opened a
in
brand-new
Merrillville.
facility, Gary.
Pardon me?
They just opened a brand-new facility.
They just opened a brand-new,
yes.
but they got to where they're at. We have a community center that we're still trying to use the food and beverage tax to take to the next level. Why can't we focus on that? The Boys and Girls Club is a multi-billion-dollar organization.
Okay.
Why are we going to borrow money and then take TIF dollars that can be used
Okay,
to?
so let's be clear, we're not borrowing money.
It is a loan. It's
No,
being repaid
it's
with
not
the
a
tax
loan.
increment.
Okay.
What is a bond?
Not
We're
alone.
not.
A bond is not a
Go
loan?
ahead, Bob, try to.
Bob, please go.
A bond is a loan.
We are, this is not your normal traditional bond issue. It's going to be purchased by the Boys and Girls Club, and then the payments will be made to them. We're not going to go to a bank. We're not going to go to an investment banking firm and borrow money to give to them. They're going to buy their bond, do their project, and then we'll pay them $200,000 as an incentive over a 10-year period.
So can I build a building and you all give me the money and use the TIF to repay it? That's not how it works in the real world. Because if that's
do
the
that
case,
quite a bit.
I've got a whole
Yeah.
bunch of stuff that I can borrow money for.
If you have
I'd like to borrow money too.
If you have a company and, well,
Okay, Mr. January. Any comments from the council while we have Bob up there? Hearing no other comments, let's call for the roll, Mr. January.
All right. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 24-25. It's an ordinance of the Town of Merrillville authorizing the issuance of Town of Merrillville Economic Development Revenue Bonds, including anticipation notes, and approving and authorizing other actions in respect thereto. This is for the Andrean Initiative. Mr. Pettit. So public comment is done at the end of the meeting, and these are first reading ordinances, so we don't do public comment for those.
Isn't there public comment on the ordinances too?
Only when.
Second reading.
On
Second
second
reading.
reading, not on first reading. So this will be read again at the next meeting. Okay. Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President. Ordinance 24-25 is a similar situation to the Boys and Girls Club. It is $1 million over 10 years, which is $100,000 a year, to improve the access off of 61st Avenue at some location back into the Andrean facility. Again, we've had meetings with the diocese, with Andrean, that they are committed to staying at 5959 Broadway on the north end. Everyone's concerned about the north end. I don't know how else to put it to you, to everyone, because I know there's rhetoric out there on the social media, which I do not participate in. There's 500 kids there. Yeah, I'll admit freely that not all those kids go to Merrillville or from Merrillville. No doubt about it, total transparency. But you've got 100 employees, you've got people that come to athletic events and they go to McDonald's and they go into Crossroads Plaza and they go into all the businesses along Broadway and spend their money. So it is, in fact, economic development of what we're trying to do to assist the diocese and Andrean High School that they're committed to staying in Merrillville. They will also be investing a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars in that school over the next 5 to 10 years for improvements, which means construction jobs, hopefully labor or union construction jobs, Joe. This is, again.
The improvements, Sean, how much are they?
The improvements are estimated to be,
Improvements right now.
projected total project is expected to be $30 million. So that will be HVAC, that will be plumbers, that will be carpenters, that will be electricians.
Masons.
That will be masons, that will be roofers, that the diocese is willing to put back into the town of Merrillville. They're investing in the town of Merrillville. Again, I'm sorry, Eric, you rattled off 9.1 million in TIF and redevelopment. To give 100,000 and 200,000 and 400,000, we have more than enough money in that redevelopment. I've been doing this way too long, guys, and everybody knows I'm passionate about it. So, Mr. President, I'll get off my soapbox now, and I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Pettit,
Second.
second by Ms. Hardaway.
So
Open for
President?
discussion.
Okay. So, Mr. President, yes, you have certainly been at it a long time. You gave away 20% of our local option income tax to the South Shore line that's not benefiting us. That's cost us over $2 million to date. And given the Archdiocese has got a ton of money, and some of the objections that I have with this, when you look at the nomenclature that you have in this ordinance, it specifies that this is for a public purpose. This is a private organization.
Yes. Thank you.
So, a private religious organization, yes, they may be spending $30 million in this town, just as people out at the Ameriplex have put money into this town, but that's not guaranteeing that people from Merrillville are actually going to be getting any other jobs or any of the contracts. So we're acting as the Lake County Economic Development Authority without any other benefit. So, and it's not that I object to Andrean or private schools or the Boys and Girls Club. It's just the fact that this is the town's money, and we can't just be giving it away to people. I don't care if it's the South Shore benefiting the rail line in Dyer and Munster that we have no benefit for, or the same thing with this particular organization. The Catholic Church is probably richer than just about every organization on the planet.
Thank you.
So just giving money away, and it's the same thing. We're borrowing money, and I don't know if this is the exact same thing as the Boys and Girls Club, where we're borrowing the money, giving it to them, and then they're using our revenues to repay it. That's the sweetest deal in the world, to do something like that. So, but you mentioned the cost. One of the things that didn't mention previously was the cost. It was just like an open-end thing in there, so that's a problem. What percentage of the project we're paying for, and but I can go on and on, but this is just a gift.
Any comments from the council? Questions? This is funded the same way as the boys and girls.
Exactly the
Right.
same.
So this is truly economic development, Mr. January.
That is not economic.
Well,
it's not
you weren't at the meeting when they were here, were you?
Well,
Were you at the meeting when they were here?
no, I was not.
Okay, so let me explain something to you since you missed that.
Mm-hmm.
This is allowing Andrean to continue or to actually be competitive, to keep the student count up because they need to remodel. They need to offer a better school than what's there now. And if they don't, they won't have students there. And what are we going to have? A large building closed at 59th and Broadway?
I'm not saying that we shouldn't do anything, but what I'm saying is maybe we should have a fundraiser for them. We shouldn't be using.
They're going to need that too, I'm sure, for 30
The town
million.
shouldn't be using our borrowing authority when we have other things. AI is taking off. If we're going to fund something, we have a limited amount of money that we can borrow. We don't have an unlimited borrowing capacity like the United States government. So let's use what we have to do some true economic development where we're creating jobs that's going to employ people with some gainful employment. This is not going to do that.
No, but I think our million square foot building is going to do it.
What
That's going to be a
million
ton of
square
jobs.
No, are they going to be Merrillville residents?
What I'm saying is we've done a lot of buildings, a lot of projects that are going to generate tons of jobs.
Part of our tax abatement, Eric.
Well, it's all Lake County. I mean,
Eric.
No, it's not all Lake County. I'm
Sure.
concerned about Merrillville.
Eric.
All Lake County.
Eric, please listen. Part of our tax abatement ordinance, when we approved that at the Economic Development Committee, we asked them for a 10% goal. Joe has advised us we can't demand it, but we asked for a 10% goal of the number of employees you're going to bring in. 10% of those are Merrillville residents.
So can I start an audit program to find out if we have 10%?
That would be through Mr. Griffin and Angie Chilcott. They are required.
You audited.
They file a SB1, which is a state form. Okay? They file that to the committee and to Mr. Griffin and Ms. Chilcott. And after they're approved, every year they have to turn in a CF1 to the town of Merrillville that says, what we said on that statement of benefits form, we're actually doing, and here's the hiring, and here's the number of jobs we've hired. They're required to do that. That's not a town form, Eric. That's a state of Indiana form.
It may be a state of Indiana form, but when I talked to Mr. Griffin earlier in the year, there was no such document that existed. We have not been following through. So if we want to follow through with it, just like we didn't follow through with the Boys and Girls Club when they didn't pay rent for 2.5 years until I brought it up.
Mr. President?
Go ahead.
If I may. Mr. January, my recollection is strained. I don't recall that discussion. I will
do.
say, though, that we do need to have a public hearing. That is a practice that we're going to start doing. So when these CF1s actually get filed, they won't be just left to the discretion of staff to decide that, to do the audit, which we'll still do. The petitioners will have to come back before the council to demonstrate that they've met the metrics that have been established before the abatement was granted, and that the council will make a determination if they'll continue for an additional year, depending on the terms of that. That is something we are going to continue to do. The Economic Development Director and I are just deciding how we're going to align them, because we'd like to do that in a single meeting. And if we did have a discussion about that, please forbear me. I just don't recall that. But I agree with you. We do need to have that audit. We will do that. We also believe the council needs to participate in that in a hearing. And it had been my experience that that's how we're going to do that. And the council's the granting authority. So I hope that I didn't mean to sound recalcitrant. I don't want to be terse. But I agree with that's the objective. I think the council shares that goal. And that's how we're going to do that.
So in other words, we have not filed a report to this date.
We have filed a report. There's been no problem with the reporting. I do believe, though, that we shouldn't leave it to the discretion of the administrative staff. The council's the grantor of that. We're going to conduct hearings to allow the council to determine if the abatement should continue or not.
Okay, because I haven't seen the report, and I would like to see a report.
Those are
If it's
public
been filed.
record. We can make
That's
those
the
available
Economic
to you.
Development Office.
Yes.
Okay.
I thank the council.
Mrs. Neal.
Yeah, President Bella, I do understand what Mr. January is saying, and he wants to create jobs for Merrillville. We are creating jobs for Merrillville. We have had, and Councilor Hardaway can attest to this, we have been begging to try to get 5 people employed with the town of Merrillville at the Barbara and Dean Center, and we cannot get the people in. Jobs have been posted. We've had it up for 3 or 4 months. So there are jobs that we are creating we can't even fill because the people in Merrillville are not coming to get the jobs. So there are jobs that are open and that are available.
Yeah, and it's not just Merrillville. There's a challenge finding people to work all over the place because people have more options. They'd rather be delivering Lyft, driving somebody with Lyft or DoorDash than making $15 an hour and having a little freedom. So it's a change in the dynamic that's going on in the economy.
Let's get back on track if you don't mind. So discussion from the council, questions?
Call for the vote, Mr. President.
You have a call for the vote. Mr. January, would you take the call, please?
Sure. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Jumping down to the resolutions tonight, we have Resolution 24-13. It's a companion resolution referencing the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Northwest Indiana. Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President. Again, these were presented at the Redevelopment Commission for Resolution 24-13 for the Boys and Girls Club. That was approved by a vote of 4-0. Again, I would defer to Mr. Swentz on either one of these. These are interlocal agreements. Joe has reviewed them, as has Tom Pittman and Bob, and everything, I believe, seems to be in order, Bob?
Yes, this just outlines the transaction that you've talked to both the Boys and Girls Club and Drain about.
Mr. Svetnoff, you agree?
Yes.
Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Ms. Hardaway. For approval of Resolution 24-13, and this is really just the paperwork that goes along with the other ordinances. Yeah. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on tonight to Resolution 24-14. It's a resolution, a companion resolution for the Andrean Foundation Incorporated. It's, again, the paperwork that supports the ordinance.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Ms. Hardaway for approval of Resolution 24-14. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Ms. Shine, moving on to BZA and large gathering actions.
Yes, Mr. President, we have two petitioners. Our first petitioner is OPS Living Merrillville LLC. Attorney Swarden, would you please come while I read the comments? OPS Living Merrillville LLC is the petitioner. The comments are petitioner is seeking special exception approval to allow a behavioral health treatment center on 2.492 acres at 8253 Virginia Street. Currently, 8253 Virginia Street is an assisted living facility which is similar use to this proposed special exception request. The facility is in a commercial location where there are similar businesses. If approved, said facility will offer inpatient drug and alcohol treatment, detoxification, and mental health care. Notably, the Indiana Division of Mental Health and Addiction regulates residential treatment centers in the state, which is what this center will be designated as a community mental health center. Behavioral health treatment as a provider shall be within the designated service area, provide treatment to include residential service, subacute stabilization facilities, and addiction treatment services. This community mental health center will allow residents to stay anywhere from 45 days up to a year. This particular facility, Mr. President, is only going to be 30 days. However, a once-a-year cap may be extended if the director of the facility deems it appropriate. All such facilities must be licensed and accredited, but organizations with less than 10 staff members need to be accredited. The following is required to open a site visit from a licensure assignment required to a clinic, an exclusive geographical service area, an application and proof of accreditation, and subsequent renewals. Staff shall include an accreditation and a CEO of licensed physicians in the state of Indiana, mental health counselors, therapists, clinical nurses, specialists, licensed psychiatrists, and clinicians. Upon approval of this exception, petitioner does not propose expanding the existing footprint. Petitioner, the footprint of the businesses only change when it's offered. The approval of this special exception will in no way be detrimental or endanger the public safety, morals, or general welfare in accordance with the comprehensive plan. Approval of the special exception request is not expected to increase the traffic or impact utility usage, and it's for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. This particular petition came to the town council with a no recommendation. We had one petitioner there that was opposed to it. After the meeting, the petitioner met with the attorney and the proposed business, and she changed her mind. And I'm going to read into record the letter that she wrote. And it is from Dr. Bridget Harris, who is the Director of Innovations of Learning, PC. Hi, Sheila. I want to reach out to you as I was able to speak with Adam today regarding the proposed business change at Virginia Place residence. After meeting, our management team talked and we considered the information presented by the owners of the proposed treatment center as well as re-evaluating the potential risks to our business and our children and our adults we serve. After our initial concern, we do believe that the change in the business is likely to present minimal increased risk to our clients. We believe our mutual interests are best served by establishing open communication, and we do not want to create potential conflict between us and the new business owner from the very start. With that said, we will not provide any additional opposition to the proposed changes in the business transaction. We do ask for open communication and ability to work through any future challenges collaboratively. One of the things mentioned at the meeting included a future check as the business fully transitions and meets capacity. I know 6 months time frame was not appropriate due to the time it would take for transition, so maybe an adjusted time frame for checking can be established. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have additional questions. Thank you, Dr. Bridget Harris. Councilman Pettig also would like to have a condition placed on this, and the condition should be a one-year review of operations of any recorded incidents that may have occurred during the 12 months of the new operation of the proposed petitioner. So, Adam, do you have anything you would like to add?
Sure. Just a couple points of clarification for the council. The minimum stay at this facility is 30 days, and they can stay up to a period longer than that. So I just wanted to clarify that. It would be licensed as a residential facility. And the other aspect to this, and this was part of our public hearing presentation before the BZA, is that Harsham Recovery Center Merrillville LLC is the new entity that's been created. It is the operator they presented and addressed a lot of the concerns that were raised by Dr. Harris. And I believe a lot of the responses that were garnered from that and the concerns, because they're in the same business as Dr. Harris, they felt comfortable kind of retracting, I think, a lot of their concerns. And so I just wanted to make those points of clarity for the record for tonight before action on the petition.
Ms. Shine, I noticed that there is no action taken by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Why is that?
Well, they didn't take an action, Mr. President. I just felt that they felt after Dr. Harris came up, they felt that she was concerned about her clients, but then the petitioner also was very knowledgeable with everything that they were doing. The petitioner also has, they also have the same kind of business that Dr. Harris has in other states and other places, so they were very knowledgeable. So they decided, they looked at me and said, is it okay if we just let the town council decide with no recommendation? So I think that both people were very compelling in their statement. They're in the back there. They're very knowledgeable about what they're doing, and they presented a very good, they're going to have security. They'll have security there. The doors will be locked. They're willing to put up a fence around their property, and they were very compelling in and they're very knowledgeable about what they're going to do as, behavior treatment-wise.
How many jobs will this generate?
So the ratio is essentially 1 to 10, and as part of this transition, because the current owner is actually operating the almost failed retirement center, so the goal here is to offer transition for all the current employees, which I think between 20 and 30, depending on classification. They're going to be given an option to stay on, be retrained for what is needed here. And then the goal is to potentially double and maybe even triple that, depending on the category of full-time versus part-time. But they do have to minimally meet the requirements that Sheila outlined under the state licensing. And I think the other aspect to this too was in that transition, because we got to ask this a lot, is how long is it going to take? Well, we don't really know because they have to provide the opportunity to get the current residents that are there now out of the facility. They're not just coming in and pushing everybody out. This is an attempt to seamlessly, transition those folks out, transition the other business, and then look at doing basically some aesthetic improvements for this location, but operate as it currently exists, just with a different use.
Very good. Any other questions or comments from the council?
No, Mr. President, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sheila.
Ms. Shainson?
Said that the minimum was 30 days, and it could be longer. So is the year the maximum time, or?
No, it's not. So the way that this works is this is voluntary. So everybody that's coming in is pretty much knowing that they're coming here, they're asking for the service, and they have to commit to that. If they don't follow the program, they're basically in breach of their agreement and they have to leave. There is a chance that there could be some court order things that happen there, but they still have to follow that minimum 30 days. They still follow the regular requirements as though that was voluntary, and they still have to agree to submit to that. Otherwise, they're going to go to a different facility.
Okay.
How is it paid for?
How is this
Each
paid for?
client that comes in, are they paying with their own insurance or what?
It can be a combination. Most of it is private, but there would be the opportunity if there was coverage through insurance or programs. I mean, those things are all potentially options for them, but the vast majority is private.
What is the basic fee?
Ooh, that I do not know, but I do have Dr. Harshwat here who could potentially answer that. If you guys have an idea, and to answer that, probably more appropriately, it probably depends on, one, the treatment that they're receiving, the term that they're going to be there, and then all encompassing of what they're signing themselves up for that term. Would you like, I can have them come up and address that if you want specifics.
Yes.
Harshwat?
I'm sure it's a lot of variables.
Mm-hmm.
The fee schedule has not been established yet, but I can share with you what our annual budget, based on what we've seen other facilities do, is anticipated. We expect to generate about $12 to $13 million in revenue every year for the facility. And the patients, Medicaid, private insurance, pay for the stay of the patients mostly, and there are some private pays as well.
So the state is involved, correct?
That's right, of
Okay.
course, and we would be licensed by the state as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pettit, you'll make your motion with addition?
Well, Mr. President, yes, this is in my ward. I've known Dr. Harrison for a number of years. She had innovation and learning over at 30 in Randolph. She has this facility. We talked on the phone. She felt comfortable when I told her I would place that condition, which is why I sent the email to Sheila for a 1-year review. If Deputy Chief Gonzalez or Chief Nusis, we have any situations where and unfortunately, this happens with group homes and other facilities. I've had calls out in my ward, I'm sure other people in their ward, patients wandering off from group homes. In this business environment, we can't have that. So reported incidences after 12 months, I'm going to look to Sheila and to Costa, Josh, to document what's happened in 12 months. If there's no incidents, then great. We're glad to have you. It's a needed service, no doubt about it. But we also have to be cognizant of the existing business owners that are out there. Okay?
So are you saying that the special exception would be revocable at that time?
We would probably bring it back and want to know what the incidences were from the police department.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number one.
A review.
A review.
Yeah. So if it is a revocable situation, we are not going to purchase this property. I'll be very candid with you. And the reason being, we are going to be spending $5.5 million to purchase this building. And if there is a risk that the exceptions, this exception can be taken away, the special exception, we are not in a position to lose that kind of money. We are individual operators. We are not part of a corporation. We run a very, very reputable hospital, which is an acute care hospital, as I had mentioned in my last statement, in Terre Haute, Indiana. So that's a very reputable, you can check on it. It's called Harsha Behavioral Center. The business that Dr. Harris operates, we have 2 of those businesses ourselves. In fact, the population that she houses, which is the adult population, they are in some kind of trailer sort of a situation that she's housing them in her backyard, which is right next to the building that we are going to be in. And I will be very candid with you. Those patients that she has, which is the adult population of autism, we serve those population and we are very compassionate, don't get me wrong. But unfortunately, that population is very, very dangerous to the surroundings because they have no impulse control. They can be very, very violent. So if she's not concerned about having those patients next to her autism center, our center is going to be nothing like what the adult population is. So that is a baseless concern, in my opinion. And like I said, if this special exception is revocable, we will not be purchasing this building. Unless there is remedies and you want us to put up a fence or something like that, we'd be happy to look into that. But if this is a revocable situation, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to.
Mr. Svetnov, how can we handle Mr. Pettit's concerns and just have an annual review of the procedures?
I mean, either you're gonna have an annual review where it's revocable or not, Mr. President.
Well, it wouldn't be revocable, it would be just to offer suggestions.
Why, I think, though, that's why you put a review in place, though, is
Right.
to see if
there's, the very first item, Adam and ladies, is the petitioner did or did not establish that the special exception will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community and in accordance with the comprehensive plan. That's the paramount, Adam. You know this. You've done a lot of these variances.
And here's-
Public health, safety, and morals is critical when granting a special exception or a use variance in any community.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, and I think that one of the things too is, they have, and I think the reason why they're concerned about having that revoked is they have a 0 tolerance. So if somebody walks out that door that has committed to a 30-day, 45-day, 90-day, whatever, they're gone. They are not actually gonna be allowed to come back in. And we had this discussion that as part of, any condition for review, we don't have any problems in being proactive and talking about how do we deal with if that is a situation that happens. They do have the other facilities. We've looked into those facilities. They do not have this issue elsewhere, and those other facilities are next door to residential communities. So I'm not expecting that. I think there's a way from a conditional standpoint for us to proactively, this includes Dr. Harris and her facility, fire department, police, and how we would respond if there is that situation, because we all know there's no guarantee. You can't stop one of these folks from finding a way out of there. But it's a 0 tolerance, and they made that record very clear to the BZA that when they have those situations before, those folks are gone. They're not going to be a recurring problem. Group homes are a little bit different. They don't have that kind of a commitment like they're going to have at this facility. So.
you want to defer.
yeah, Mr. President, I'm gonna make a motion to table this for 30 days.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Ms. Hardaway to table this petitioner for 30 days.
For discussion, Mr. President, to Joe. This is a table now, Joe, but since there was no recommendation from the BZA, nothing can go into effect. If we don't take action in 90 days, there's no, is this thing gonna die?
30 days.
No, 90 days. BZA takes an action, we have 90 days to act on that BZA action. If we don't, the BZA's recommendation is the law, correct?
Correct.
So if there's
was
no
no
recommendation, then what do we, just
They have to
thinking
start
thinking out loud.
Why don't we get it back on the BZA agenda? There's plenty of time then in the 30 days. Can we bring it back up to the BZA?
I guess we can. I don't know. They sent it here with no recommendation. You want me to
Well,
send it
that's
back?
not the board needs to make recommendations. That's not, that's what they're there for. So,
Let me take a look around there, Mr. President. I will drive, Adam, I will drive back through the neighborhood again.
If I can make a suggestion, I mean, because I know Dr. Harris was the primary one that was concerned about this. I mean, I would like for her to participate, I think, in that discussion, because if there's some metrics here that, you know, could give them some measure of
Well,
confidence.
again, it's not just Dr. Harrison that I'm concerned about as a ward councilman. I'm concerned about the other existing businesses that are out there. And if I'm not mistaken from the map, are you across the street from White Lodging?
We are.
You are across the street from White Lodging. So, yes, I have a concern about those businesses out there.
Well, and also to be fair to the petitioner, I think what the petitioner is most worried about in this case is if they have a review within 12 months and it's revocable, if they obtain financing for their facility, they're on the hook for the financing of the facility.
Right,
And if
absolutely.
the condition gets revoked, they're still on the hook.
And I wouldn't want to do that to them.
Correct. So that's why I think it's better off probably to table right now.
Yeah,
and
sir,
just-
I would like, if I may, I would like to make a comment on this. As I had mentioned before the last time in the other meeting, this is a residential treatment facility. This is not as acute as a hospital that we run in Terre Haute, Indiana. We have had not a single incident there in Terre Haute, Indiana, with our patients going and doing anything. There is no likelihood of anything like that. It's not like we are housing, we are running a jail there that the neighbors should be concerned about. This is a much-needed service for your community. There's a shortage of mental health facilities everywhere. We have identified this area as one of the facilities that does not have a lot of beds. And not only that, a residential treatment facility, people come from all over the state because they don't want to be treated in their own facility because of the stigma of mental health. So this is going to be a big asset for your community, and it'll be a big loss. We have 2 other facilities we are looking at in different parts of the state, and if you say no to this, we would be more than happy to go elsewhere. But unfortunately, your township is
you
going to
don't-
lose a lot.
The best approach is not to threaten the town council.
I'm sorry, I'm not threatening, sir.
No,
That was
you're
not
kind
my
of taking
goal.
that tone, so it's better off probably you stop right now.
Okay, I wasn't implying that at all. I'm
Well,
sorry.
you've hired a very good attorney. Let him speak for you.
All right, I didn't know, I'm not an experienced person, sir, and I apologize if you were offended.
No, I'm not, I'm looking out for the council members
Yes,
up here.
all of you, I apologize
So,
if I
thank you.
offended anybody.
I wasn't offended. I appreciate the straightforwardness.
Thank you.
I certainly wasn't offended.
I'm not,
Neither was
it's
I.
business. Nothing personal, just business.
Any
Mr.
other
President?
discussion on the motion to table?
May I offer counsel, not like loyal counsel, but parliamentary counsel, if I may? It often is that the motion is to table something when you really mean to defer. And the 30 days doesn't align perfectly with your meeting schedule. So at least maybe would the councilman be willing to make his motion be to defer until, and 1 month, almost 30 days to the date is July 9th. That is your first meeting of the month of the next month. I'm only offering that so that your motion aligns with the purposes to give you a cooling off period. And just to remind you, that statute allows the ABZA in counties, Lake County and in St. Joseph County, to make a favorable recommendation, a non-favorable recommendation, and no recommendation at all. That actually is the only 2 counties in the state to have BZAs empowered to make these kinds of recommendations, including no recommendation on special variances and use variances, are municipalities in Lake and municipalities in St. Joseph. For some reason, we have 90 days to act. In St. Joseph, they only have 60. Everywhere else, the BZA's findings are final. I'm only offering that to say that I'm not sure there's a mechanism to send back, but I would defer to Mr. Svetanoff on that. But deferring this for your further consideration, as long as you're within the 90 days, is safe.
Thank you, Michael. That's why you're our town manager. I will modify my motion, Mr. President, to defer until the July 9th town council meeting, and I will get with Sheila and Mr. Griffin, and we will reevaluate the neighborhood. I also want to look at what used to be Regional Health Center on Taft, Sheila.
Okay.
and see what services and how this compares to them, and we'll go from there.
Ms. Hardaway, does your second stand with the amendments that Mr. Pettit offered?
Yes, President Bella.
Okay. Open for discussion on the motion to defer until July 9th Town Council meeting. Hearing none, Mr. Genoway, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Aye.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor. Motion carries to defer until July 9th. We'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to the second item, Ms. Shine.
Our second item is storage. Attorney Anderson. Our second item is MHC 294 Merrillville LLC is the petitioner, and the owner is High Tech Storage LLC, High Tech Storage. And they're requesting a variance of use approval. Petitioner is seeking a variance of use approval to allow a storage facility on 2.55 acres at 240 West 79th Avenue. Said storage facility is on 2.55 acres in the C2 Community Commercial Zoning District. Petitioner is requesting a variance of use approval for the existing storage facility. It has been a business with no incidents for over 2 years. Petitioner holds that the business is beneficial to the properties adjacent to the subject property, as this use results in light traffic, no disruptions to adjacent properties. The property was granted a use variance by the Town Council on November 25th, 2017, for this location only and for this use only, and the petitioner states that substantial monies have been invested onto said business. This is a climate-controlled facilities with perimeter security, fencing, high-tech lighting, electronic video monitoring. Petitioner desires to leave the property as and continues its use as a storage facility, but cannot happen unless a variance of use is granted. For this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. So Attorney Anderson is in the office and in the audience, and so is his client.
Hi, Mark Anderson, 9211 Broadway, Merrillville. I'm here on behalf of the owner of the property, High Tech Storage. This is Norm Kotash. He's here on behalf of the petitioner. Petitioner could talk about what they've done there. They have over 200 facilities in the area. We think that they are a good fit. Owner is in the process and would like to sell this facility. As Ms. Shine indicated, the Town Council had agreed to this use variance in 2017, the November 25th meeting. With the idea being, again, for this petitioner only, at this use only, and this location only. It's now to continue this use for the new buyer. We need to ask for that same kind of use for an experienced provider of self-storage.
So Attorney Anderson, this is already an established storage facility.
Yes.
That's basically changing ownership,
That's
not a new storage facility.
Nothing else is that, just
Okay.
changing ownership. That's correct. Mr. Kotash can speak more about petitioner and their extensive experience.
Hi, my name is Norm Kotash. I've been with consulting for Merritt Hill Capital for about 5 years now. And Merritt Hill actually has over 300 facilities nationwide. The professional outfit, a private equity firm. They're managed typically by third party, so either Extra Space or CubeSmart, which you've probably heard of both. So they're very professional. They have standards that have to be followed when they're, that we have to keep our property up to certain standards as well. But besides that, this is a very nice facility as it is. I've toured it myself. Very clean, very impressed with all the security devices that they have in place. Merritt Hill Capital, the purchasers, which is who I'm with, as I mentioned, over 300 sites, but they are a private equity firm. They have to improve every site that they purchase because eventually they're going to have to sell it. So we go in and we find out any deficiencies, we improve them, whether it be from a visual standpoint or operational standpoint. But the CEO, Liz Schlesinger, is built this company to the 8th largest self-storage company in the country in a short 6 years. So she knows what she's doing. They're run very, very well, very conscientious. She's a person of her word and always wants to leave a place better than we found it. And that's, you can look at our track record, and that's why they're 8th largest in the country. So I'll happily answer any questions you have. We're not looking to expand it, as I think that was one of the conditions that the BZA put on us. We just want to keep it the way it is, improve it, obviously. No plans for expansions right now, or at all, really.
Is there space to expand, Sheila, in the future?
No, it's no space to expand. So we were speaking of those storage sheds that were put out there without a permit, that they couldn't get any more. That's what they were told at the BCA.
Mr. President, this is, again, it's in my ward. I'm going to make a motion for approval for discussion so I can educate my colleagues about what's going on out there, Mark, okay?
You have a motion by Mr. Pettit for approval. Second by Ms. Haynes Edwards. Open for discussion, Mr. Pettit.
For the rest of the counselors, as Sheila alluded to, this was granted a use variance a while back. The current owner, during the pandemic, put up the modular units that the BZA and the council approved, and they were supposed to leave 6 inches so that water could drain. I remember specifically Brian Deering wanting the drainage to run. And nor, this is not against you, this is the current owner. To the best of my knowledge, Sheila, they have paid back the $19,000 they owe us in building permit fees?
Yes.
Okay, Mark, your client is paid in full. Marty, I'm forgetting Marty's last name. Schreibeck. It is fully built out. They are already there. For those that remember, this was South Lake Nautilus building.
Right.
Back there. And we allowed them to convert. But I wish you all the best. You know, again, when is enough is enough? When is a market study? I'm sure that's running through Mr. Bella's mind, but you're already out there, and I appreciate someone coming in and taking it over. And you did say that the chairman is a female?
She is.
Okay.
Yeah, in her mid-40s. I mean, amazing. She's a phenomenon in the industry. She's very well known, very well respected. And if I might offer some helpful advice, I've been doing this for 27 years in the self-storage industry. I know I look too young to be in anything for 27 years, but, you know, self-storage, I liken it to an iceberg. The benefit, most of the benefit is below the surface. You don't, you know, it doesn't employ a bunch of people. It's not a sexy business, as they say. But when you're buying or selling a home and you need to stage your home so you can get a higher sale value for it, you put stuff into storage. Higher sale value creates higher taxes, higher real estate taxes. There are small businesses that are trying to compete, for example, with Amazon. So smaller businesses will put product out into the storage facility so that they can have their reps go out there and get them to the customers faster. So it's helping small businesses stay within your community as well, so it serves a purpose for inventories, seasonal inventories, purchases, things like that. Estate sales, when someone passes away, they don't want to sell the stuff off, they'll put it into storage, slowly piece things off. There are a lot of economic benefits to self-storage that if you just peel away some of the layers and look at it, it's not that bad. More importantly, it's demand-driven. Within a 3-mile radius, as I think your dad, right? Mentioned earlier, we look at a 3-mile radius when you decide where you want to put storage because of the demand. So it's really serving the people of your own community. They're demanding it. So before you start saying, well, maybe we have how much is too much, ask your own constituents, because they're putting stuff in those units and they're utilizing it. I'm not trying to advocate for or against. I'm just giving you some ideas to maybe think the next time someone comes in, there's more to it than just how many people we're going to employ and how much money is it going to throw off directly to the city. So it provides a very, very useful benefit to a lot of people within your own community. Whatever that's worth, it was free, so.
Just curious. 5-mile radius, I think, Richard.
Typically, our sweet spot's 3. We go 5, depending on the populations.
Okay.
3 to 5. But 3 is really the concentration.
What percentage would you say of the self-storage units are actually used for inventory purposes that you just mentioned?
It depends on the locations. Each place is different. The more populated cities, probably more than suburban or rural areas. But I can tell you that the majority, majority of the people are probably residential users, and a lot of it's tied to the housing market. When the housing market's on fire, people are using it a lot. Actually, they call self-storage recession-resistant, not recession-proof, because in bad times, people are downsizing, losing their homes. They don't want to lose all their stuff, too, so they'll put it into storage and pay for storage because they lose their home, or maybe they can't expand their home because the times are tough. They'll put it into storage. When times are good, they're expanding. They're putting stuff into storage while they're building their additions or buying homes. So it's really a very unique industry. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
I'll do some homework. Thank you. You did enlighten me, though.
Yeah, but if you do like a zip code analysis of each site, you'll see that the majority of the people on that site are from your own town.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Aye.
President Bella.
I'm going to vote aye, Mr. Anderson, because it's an existing business, but I'm really losing my appetite for these types of structures. I vote aye.
That's the only reason.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Congratulations, good luck with the new.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, again, Mr. President, it begs the question to Joe. What do we instruct our department head to do with these petitions that come in?
Oh, they got it. Come.
Mr. Pettit, and how I will answer that is, you have to take these on a case-by-case basis. We don't adopt moratoriums, but what we do is we take them on a case-by-case basis. But if they don't meet the criteria to a T, and you can identify criteria that they don't meet, then you can deny the special exception, or you can deny the approval. So what everybody has to look at is the criteria, statutory criteria under the approval.
Yeah, but as they say, has the precedent been set
No.
by this council and previous councils of allowing these via
No,
special exception?
I don't believe there's been a precedent set. You take each case on a case-by-case basis, you measure them out on the facts that are presented with the criteria that are presented, and you make a determination whether they fit the criteria or not. If they don't fit the criteria, then you have the right to deny.
Okay. And I understand that. Again, you and I have had that conversation, Joe, so.
Correct.
I just kind of wanted everybody to hear how we're in this
But
situation.
like Cedar Lake adopted a moratorium over residential housing. That's going to get challenged sooner or later. And I have a feeling that Cedar Lake may not be successful when they adopted that moratorium and they're trying to upkeep that moratorium.
Yeah.
So that may be something that, they may have to revise sooner or later. But again, I don't believe in moratoriums. What I do believe is judging projects on their merit in a case-by-case basis based upon statutory.
And as Rick said, this is a unique one because it was an existing
Well, it's an-
change of ownership, really.
Yeah,
Well, it's an existing business,
Yeah.
so quite different.
thank you. Moving on to old business. Mr. Griffin, any old business before us?
Nothing was filed with our office, Mr. President.
The new business, I do want to announce for the council members, I'm going to reschedule our monthly workshop because the way the calendar fell, it's on Juneteenth. I believe are we closed on 19th? We are, aren't we?
Yes.
So I don't think we should be doing a meeting on Juneteenth. I don't want to do that. So I'll send out an email if that's okay to everyone, and we'll select a different date, probably later in the month.
Would that date possibly be before July 9th, when
Yes.
we meet for the other
Yes.
situation?
Yes,
Okay.
for sure. Okay. Public comment, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes for comments.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Town Council members, Town administrators, community members, and esteemed guests. My name is Maceo Rainey of 7114 Whitcomb Street, Merrillville, Indiana, also Vice President of the Prairie Creek Homeowners Association. We're a pretty large homeowners association group that vote as a block in Merrillville, Indiana. Much has been said about, and scuttlebutt about the notion of the support, financial support for Andrean High School, and also the support for the Boys and Girls Club, which has many residents feeling like Wheel of Fortune. minus Pat Sajak and Vanna White. That we're just gonna spin the wheel, and wherever it lands, 1 million on Andrean, 2 million on the Boys and Girls Club. And that's not a very good way to be in terms of feeling that there's the fiscal responsibility with taxpayer dollars. I have a two-part question, first for Mr. Bella. Mr. Bella, was there ever a market study for this notion of giving a financial donation to Andrean? Was there ever a market study for that?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that you're aware of, but you're a strong proponent of market studies and any other business transactions, correct?
In other regular, traditional
Right.
businesses.
I just wanted to read that into the record, that you were not aware, or that the answer is no, that there was no market study for this generous donation to Andrean High School. Mr. Pettit, I want to ask you, I'm curious to know, was there the donation to Andrean High School, is that part of the Merrillville Momentum Plan?
The donation? No.
Yet.
No.
Or any monies?
Because, sir, the diocese just committed via a letter that all the council members, Mr. January and Mr. Griffin, got, that they will remain at 5959 Broadway. We were well into the Merrillville Momentum Comprehensive Plan before the diocese decided not to go to Crown Point, to stay in Merrillville and invest $30 million in that 50 acres.
And that's expressed in that document, that they will invest $30 million during those, across those acres.
In the Merrillville Momentum?
In that letter.
In the letter, it doesn't, I don't know if it specifically has a dollar amount in it.
That's proposed.
That's proposed.
It's proposed, but basically that sounds like we're building a house on sand. If we cannot tie the archdiocese to giving 30 million, investing $30 million into the town of Merrillville, but they have not put that on paper and signed their name to it. So we're speculating, anticipating. Interesting. Thank you. While you're on your soapbox, think about that. When you're on your soapbox, you may as well have a Christmas Santa Claus outfit on too, because Christmas is coming in June, obviously.
Brian Messarch, 201 East 68th Place, still. First off, I'd like to mention Tiffany and Barb and their ballistic vests. It's been 3 months. I don't think there's been any progress on that. I would certainly appreciate it if someone would at least check. We gave our word that we're going to get them this equipment. That would be nice. Councilman Pettit, you actually owe Eric January an apology because you made statements at the last meeting that were absolutely incorrect. Your neighborhood is not in a TIF zone, and your tax dollars do not go to the TIF. That would be illegal. There are HOTIFs, housing TIFs, that are separate. They have separate rules. For you to try to bully down with incorrect facts is ridiculous. There's not 50 acres at Andran, by the way. They own a 25-acre parcel and a 7-acre parcel. The total amount of assets that the Gary Diocese has is $10 million. There's no way that the Gary Diocese is going to be investing $30 million in that property when their total in all of Merrillville is only $10 million. They are in the process of selling the St. Joan of Arc. They sold St. Peter and Paul. They are leaving the Merrillville area. I understand that it's probably hurtful for your alma mater to want to move on down the road, but that's the way of life.
For the record, Brian, I graduated from South Bend LaSalle in 1982, so I'm not an Andrean alumni, okay? So there's a fact you don't have straight.
That's perfect. There's no reason then for you to support a religious institution. It's a violation of the First Amendment. It's a violation of the Establishment Clause. This public government should not be donating to a religious organization for religious purposes. But I appreciate your candor on that. And as far as the Boys and Girls Club, they own a ton of property. They could build their own. They were at MIS and they left Merrillville high and dry. And now they only serve 8th graders who are old enough who should be able to be kids who take care of themselves. The Gary Diocese has tons of money, and they can, if they can afford to build a high school in Crown Point, they can afford to build it out here. I don't care where they build it. It shouldn't be my tax dollars going to that. The TIF, that TIF money isn't some magic tree that money grows on. And I need the council, I need you guys to think about this for just a second. Why does the Redevelopment Commission have $9.1 million and the town of Merrillville only has 12? You want to know why we don't have enough police officers? Why we don't have a patrol division? Why we need more fire? You want to know why our Parks Department doesn't have a summer program for kids, doesn't have any clubs for adults? I'd love to have a bike club, but you know what? Not at the Parks Department. It's devoid of anything. Vice President Neal, you say that people don't apply for jobs. I am more than qualified to work any job at the town of Merrillville. I have almost thrown myself. Please use me. I will volunteer to make my town a better place, and I get rebuffed. It's absolutely ridiculous. We need to do better. And we need to start at home. We need to take care of the things that we need first. We need to eat first, and we need to be able to help ourselves before we help other communities and other religious institutions. We need for ourselves. At some point in time, we need to get that through our head. We need to work together better all together.
Well said. My name is Darian Collins, 2505 West 65th Avenue in Merrillville. I originally came here about the improper vote on the court 2 weeks ago, but I see that's not on the agenda. First of all, we as residents voted to change the complexion and the body of the council because we wanted to see things done differently in our town. And many of you up there are new, and we have expectations of you to represent us better. We don't want the status quo anymore. We want better. We want new ideas. We want some of the conversation that's being had is uncomfortable, but I think it's good because nobody runs this council, Sean. Nobody runs this council. Everybody has a word, and we need to hear all the different pieces. I commend Hardaway for saying no to a new storage facility. When I see storage facilities in a community, I think that the community is being drained because I think of old people who want to hang on to their old stuff because it's sentimental and they put that stuff in storage. Young people, if you have read the tune, they don't care about stuff. They buy cheap stuff, they throw it away, they move somewhere and they buy more cheap stuff. And yes, and so storage facilities across this country are filled with people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, no, 50s, 60s, 70s with stuff that they can't let go of. I don't want another storage facility in Merrillville. And so we want you all to think and to listen and to act and not yes on I on everything, okay? Secondly, on the Andrean issue, I have a real problem with Andrean in the first place. My son went there as a freshman because I thought it would be a better institution for him, but it was so much hidden racism and hidden drinking and hidden drug use and hidden microaggression that I'm glad that he left there and went to Merrillville High School. As a community, we should be supporting Merrillville High School first. When I come to these council meetings, I hear all this stuff for Andrean, Aquinas. Merrillville Public Schools are our primary concern, okay? That's who we need to be talking about. Andrean, first of all, across this country, vouchers were established originally so that low-income students could go to private and religious institutions to get a so-called better or different education. Now, there just is about no income limit for a family using a voucher. You can be $250,000 to $300,000 a year in income and have a voucher. That is not the way the voucher program started. Andrean grew and is sustaining itself now because of vouchers. If they can't keep their enrollment, that's not our problem in Merrillville. We have a Merrillville High School that we need to worry about. We have 4 scholars for, what's the program?
Scholarship.
Yes, we have 4 out of 750 across the country that are coming out of Merrillville High School. I'm proud of that. And so I know we don't want to see that building emptied. I know we don't want to see it drained. When my son went to Merrillville, there were no black people working in that building. None.
Finish up, Ms. Collins, please.
None. None. So I don't want to see any TIF dollars. I don't want to see any public money that this town is responsible for or can control going to Andrean. The fact of the matter is, it's already being said that they're going to move to Crown Point. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. We can find something else to do with that building. It's not the end of the world. As far as they don't assimilate with this community, they drive in, they go to school, and they leave. They have their football games, they leave. The Andrean community does not assimilate and work with Merrillville. They really don't. Now, you may think they do, but they don't. Okay, they don't. So let that go. Now, the last thing I want to say is, please, when we get back to the town court issue, just like we're passionately finding TIF dollars and finding money for raises and doing other things, can we passionately work on finding the money to keep our court open? I find that when you are pinched for money in your personal household, in your business budget, and even in government, when we can find the money.
Ms. Collins, finish up, please.
I am finishing. Okay. We can find the money, just work on it and make it a priority. I don't feel like the council is passionate about trying to keep their court open like we're passionate about trying to keep Andrean. Andrean is not going to benefit our community like that court will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shonda Flowers, 6137 Connecticut Street, Merrillville, Indiana. I'm passionate about $1,200. $1,200 was what was proposed October 30th, 2023, when longevity was submitted to the clerk's office to be paid. Judge Velasco respectfully submitted a memo, and today is June 11th. And I have not even so much as heard a response regarding whether or not that longevity will be given to me. I have left the town for a short period of time. I think it was 2 weeks, I think, when Judge Jones transitioned over to Lake County and returned over, and it was almost considered, if I'm not mistaken, as just a temporary leave of absence. I stepped down and went part-time, so when we talk about monies and why we can't get people here, I make $55,000, and $1,100, $1,200. No one has looked to see whether or not I am worthy of getting a raise. In fact, my staff hasn't gotten one with all of the other employees for the last 2 years. But $1,200, at least an answer. Respectfully, Judge Velasco submitted something in writing, and we have not gotten an answer on whether or not I could be given the longevity. It would be nice when you think of the statement that has been put up in all of our buildings that starts by saying the town of Merrillville elected leaders as well as town department leaders believing in creating a space where all, that would include me, employees and visitors feel included, respected, and equal, no matter their race, gender, ethnicity, age, sexual orientation, physical and/or mental disability, or any other trait of characteristic. I find it very disrespectful that another elected official himself has not even received a response regarding a memo that he submitted on October 31st that was emailed. I have been speaking with the town manager who has attempted to try to give me somewhat of a convoluted answer, no disrespect to him, but he can't give an answer because he has not gotten a response, or a response legally has not been submitted. I just want to know if I'm going to get $1,100 or $1,200 or $900 on something that was submitted to the clerk's office that was paid to every other employee on November 3rd.
Joe, do you want to respond to that?
Well, here's what I'm going to say right now. Mr. Griffin, Have you talked to me about this issue, and have I not responded to you?
Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Svetnov, this timeline is accurate that Ms. Flowers has shared with you. I do remember speaking to the council president about this, about the time she's talking about, and there was an informal conversation about that, but you and I have not had a face-to-face follow-up about that. That is correct. But there was an informal conversation about the position of the council and that you would prepare perhaps a response. I think that was going to be asked for from you. But if I fail to do that, then I owe an apology to you, Ms. Flowers, and to you, Mr. Svetnov, and to you, Mr. President, and I'll own that, and I will follow up with you about it, if that was my
Great.
failing.
I look forward to it.
You bet.
I look forward to possibly getting, at minimum, $900, or at least an answer while we giving money
We'll
out.
get an answer for you.
Thank you.
I think it had to do with the lapse of service and the part-time work and setting precedent, that sort of thing. So we'll get you an answer.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diamond Jackson. I'm from 600 East 54th Court, and my comment actually is about Andrean School. So when I was over there, I'm kind of upset that my TIF and tax dollars are going to a school that I can never afford to go to. And that kind of made me really mad. So I looked up Andrean's application for their tuition. And their tuition, again, these kids can pay for themselves, or their parents can, is $10,750 a year, which amounts to $4 million roughly every year. And over 10 years, that's $44 million. And then we have the fundraiser fee, which is $500. Sorry, I don't really public speak. But it's $500. And that fee is just for nothing they don't really tell you. They actually just say the fee is excess if you can't sell raffle tickets. And then we have the enrollment fee, which is half of that, which is $250. And that says the same fee, the fee will be assessed for the students. But they do say that this fee will be used to help supplement the experience for the students. And then you go down to the second page, and everything that's for the students, which is their dances, which is their clubs, which is their gym clothes, their parking passes, technology fees, classroom fees, that's all out of pocket. So again, if we combine the fundraiser fee and the enrollment fee, for 1 year, that's $300,000. Over 10 years, that's $3 million. So I want to say again, why am I, or the TIF dollars, paying for their parking lot when they have plenty of money? And then my second comment was the young lady about the mental health. When I sat back there, there was so much fear-mongering in some of the verbiage that I don't think it even registered. So again, mental health is something that my generation and my brothers and everyone underneath me takes very seriously. It was something that was ignored by the older generations because they didn't really understand it. And to make a comment saying I have to worry about what the other businesses may think, it gives me the idea of that thought where people with mental illness were put in the back, shut up, and then they weren't seen. So I'm all for mental health facilities in Merrillville. We need more. So that's my comment. And again, I don't understand why my TIF dollars or anybody's is going for a school where they can actually pay for themselves and not going to the food bank. I don't know if y'all see that line that's every day, every week, that stretches past the elementary school, but their parking lot is messed up, and that's the food bank. But I'm worried about a school that they can pay for themselves, and that's not even including donation dollars. I make it make sense, because it really don't. That's it, y'all.
Leonard White, 5761 Grant Street. Of course, I did have some questions about the $9 million TIF dollars out there. Given Andran $1 million, I just want to know, is that really something we can do? It's not in a TIF district, so I didn't know we could pay for things that weren't in a TIF district. Now, if we can, I'd like to tell the owners of Crossroad Plaza that they might be able to get a gift to fix that parking lot down there. So I just want to know. Secondly, in the terms of Merrillville having jobs, Sean, you know, for a while I've been asking about the requirements and are people complying with the 10%. Still doesn't seem to be in place. Secondly, again, with the job situation, Merrillville Community Center versus other type of jobs. When I ride down in the community that I live in, I see people making big dollars. That's why they're not going to, trying to apply for, one of the reasons they're not trying to apply at the Dean and Barbara White Center. I'm not even sure the Dean and Barbara White Center is union. Are they? If they're not, that's one of the reasons that people don't want to apply. If you had, because I haven't been around in 6 months, I've been sleeping pretty good, I'm telling you. It's been good. Senior citizen nights are great. So I just wanted to find out, if we do have $9 million, why don't, we just need to pay those debt now, those bonds that we have. We had the new bonds for the community center for Merrillville TIF district, road TIF district. We also had, when we slid down the street, TIF district line down to the community center. So that let me know that those are areas in the TIF district that we can use those dollars for. So are the town of Merrillville able to use dollars outside of the TIF district? I'm asking a question, actually.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
You can.
Okay. So I can go back and tell those owners of Crossroad Plaza that they possibly get a gift because that's not the TIF district. Because that's always been a holdup from my understanding. Well, it's not in the TIF district. So I'm asking tonight, is that something I can tell them that they may be able to apply for? Because what I understand, some of that from Sheila, is that they say they need to make enough money before they can do the parking lot. Well, they're not going to get them dollars from me because I'm not paying millions of dollars. By the way, I just want to make that statement, and I hope with the $9 million, you have some other plans for it other than just giving $1 million to, even to the Boys and Girls Club. Because it seems like these people are special people. Andrea, Boys and Girls Club. That's all I've been hearing. People calling me. I say, hey, look, I'm not even on the council no more, so I don't know why you're calling me about it. But I'm here tonight because I'm still getting calls. And somebody has to speak up for the community, and I'm the one that's going to speak up for them. So I just still didn't get my question answered about the $9 million. Can we pay off some bonds, or can we suspend the food and beverage tax to use those dollars there? Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Stephen Mays. I'm the president of the Gary branch of NAACP. We have actively 1,500 members, but the majority town, we serve Lake and Porter County, is the majority town of our members are in Merrillville, Indiana. We clearly sent the message that we wanted some representation. Get the taxation, but not the representation. We voted in a lot of new folks that I want to encourage to get active, to read through and know what's going on. It makes no sense. A couple of things. If we're going to have TIFs, and TIFs are good, but TIFs are designed for economic benefit. It should provide jobs and hiring and business opportunities to the residents. It should be able to help with Little League fields, fund parks, do a lot of things. And so to use the money, it's perfectly fine, but we need to establish a community benefits agreement that's clearly measurable and audible, so we don't have to come back and say, is it being used for this purpose or that purpose? Get a benefits agreement so it's clear. You got millions of dollars coming through. We get these incentives, you should get something back. It's called return on investment for your taxpayers, return on equity. Let's get that established. But I'm really concerned about the democracy in a voting process. To go back and that's not on the agenda about the courts. But if your school district said that wasn't important, and your citizens said it was important, it's the stability of the town. Courts are not designed to make money. We have to have stability. And we can find money for everything else, but we can turn our back on the courts. That's a problem. I'm telling the new folks, I got a problem if you don't see that that's important. And I want to ask to the conscience of all of the council, we're going to spend money wisely on your town and on your residents. And then increase your small businesses, do the things to generate more revenue. Because if we figured it out, all these projects can be good. But to not allow that man to vote, that's a problem. It's not going to go away. It's just going to be the beginning of that. if the procedure is the clerk treasurer breaks the vote and we deny them that right, I'm telling you, that's going to be a problem. Thank you.
Man,
All right. Moving on to announcements then, Town Council meeting Tuesday, June 25th at 6:30. The next RDC meeting is Tuesday, June 25th at 6:15. And the job fair coming up on July 24th from 11:30 to 2:30 at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.